So, okay,
No problem at all.
right. So, yeah, Dr. Terry, shall we start?
Ready whenever you are, Nicolette.
Okay, all right. So, hi, Dr. Terry. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again. Juxtaposition of your very soul. I'd like to say thank you for actually reaching out to be on my show. When I read your message, I was like, wow, this is a topic that I never thought I would feature. So at that moment, I said, yes, of course, I would definitely would love to have you on. So I'd like to give our listeners a bit of introduction about yourself, and then we can dive deep into your area of expertise. Okay. So, hi.
Sounds great.
Hi, everybody. We have Dr. Terry Zachary here. He is the author of Great Hands, Great Life. He is a former professional golfer and sports chiropractor who saw dozens of repetitive grip injuries to the fingers, thumbs, hands, wrists, carpal tunnels, and elbows of golfers. In response, Dr. Zachary developed the Hand Master Plus hand exercise system and since has helped over 1 million people train their hands properly and get a grip on grip in therapy, sports, music, workplace, gaming, computers, and smartphones. Wow. Okay, Dr. Terry, can you tell us what was it like growing up as Terry Zachary?
Well, yeah, Nicolette, my backstory is actually, I think, in my opinion, pretty simple.
Okay.
I grew up really interested in sports. That was kind of my happy place.
Right.
Being Canadian, Nicolette, it was hockey first, really. And then it ended up being a little bit into basketball, but it was mostly golf, as you've spoken about in that nice introduction. And that's what won out. So I think, Nicolette, that it was really my interest in golf, which is a real technical sport. As I got better and better at it, to improve was a little bit harder. You know, the first part of improving at golf was pretty good. I became competitive. But as I got more detailed,
Mm.
you had to learn a lot about a lot. Like you had to learn a lot about the mechanics of how your body moves, of how you want to swing a golf club. And you also had to learn the mechanics of how you think. So
Oh.
you had to learn that a lot. And I know with your podcast, and I was really intrigued, of course, by the name of your podcast and when I visited and listened to several episodes. I think that's what kind of where you and I would cross very well is that when I picked a profession, I really loved that seeking of details of how does this body work? How does, how can I get these people's lives better? And it really did end up turning into a similar search, like as in golf, is that I could see there was a physical aspect, which clearly there is in golf. But there's also, when you get to the higher levels of golf, it becomes where the mental aspect and about allowing yourself to just be there and let it happen and be in the moment and keep organized, keep negativity out. It really crossed into that's how I needed to work with my patients eventually, is look at their entire lifestyles. And that's what you needed to do really at the elite level of golf. You have to look at all of your physical, all of your mental, and it's an all-encompassing study. And Nicolette, I loved that pursuit of professional golf, and I love the pursuit of trying to figure out how these lives can best be run.
Wow. Oh, thank you so much. You actually listened to my podcast. Doctor.
Yes, I really enjoyed it. I listened to quite a few of them actually.
Thank you. So, right, you were saying just now, you were walking me through how you started your journey. So, why hand exercise though? Okay, every day we take this for granted. Like, okay, we have this, and then so what, right? I mean, it's given, God given, but then yeah, I don't know how to take care of it. And I know I need to, but I don't. Most people do. They don't either.
Yeah,
So
Nicolette, it's the thing that I just really, it's one of those things you pursue your passions. My passions were always figuring out the body. And like I said, originally my passion was I still love the game of golf and now my kids are starting to show interest. So like I'm not trying to force them into anything, but they're showing interest, and that excites me a lot because I know then that they will get into some of these curiosities that I have, and I believe that's important. Your question about why the hands, it was, I won't say it was the last thing I thought I'd ever get into, because all parts of the body just are interesting, and your I'm Worthless brand is really interesting to me because I think many people, and the reason that you don't know about hands, and I will tell you, most people don't, even the professionals, the health and fitness professionals that we talk to. I've engaged with health and fitness professionals for over 15 years. And if I tell them how the hands work, often what they'll do is they'll nod in agreement. But if I ask, I've started to get in the habit that when I go to trade shows or I go to, groups where there's health and fitness groups, I'll ask them what they know about about the hands, and it is really, really limited. A layperson, forget about it; they don't
Correct.
know. So the reason I say that is that you are not alone. And when I looked at it, I knew a lot about the hands because I saw in practice before I went and played professional golf. I took some time off of my practice to pursue that dream of mine. But before I did, I saw a lot of repetitive grip injuries. I was about half sports chiropractic, half family chiropractic. The sports was just because it was hockey and golf, and tennis, or the types of athletes that I was working with. It was all repetitive grip injuries. So they were in my face all the time. Because I had looked at it from my golf background, I had started before I was even in practice questioning why we just take something and squeeze it, if we do anything at all for grip. And so I was already kind of curious at why are we not looking at all of the muscles? Like there's 9 muscles that close the hand, which are pretty obvious. Like that's what we think our grip is just those muscles.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 9 muscles that open and spread the hand, and those muscles co-contract whenever we grip something. So we really do have 18 muscles working all the time just to grip something. But
Right.
then our forearm and our wrist are also being put in a position to whatever we grip in our particular grip activity. Golf would be a little different than hockey,
Mm-hmm.
would be a little different than guitar, would be a little different than you being on the computer all day or your smartphone all day, would be different than a dental hygienist working all day.
Right.
So we have to look at when we never really have, I don't have the answer really, Nicolette, why we've never looked at this area, because as I saw it with professional golfers, it was so obvious. They would come to me when they understood that I was also a sports chiropractor, and they would say, I'm having a little problem with my elbow
Yeah.
or with my carpal tunnel.
Yeah.
They were more obvious with finger and thumb and hand problems. They would
Or
say,
usually this
they
part
would
here.
understand.
Like there's a
Yeah, they would
yeah.
understand grip more, but they really didn't understand how the forearm and the carpal tunnel and the elbow related to grip. And those are all grip structures.
Mm.
Even the professionals or somebody that's like into their fitness that might be listening right now might think, they might understand the elbow, but they usually never equate it with grip.
Yeah.
But that's what we do. And when we're moving our elbow to do something, almost always it's to grip something. So how we haven't found this area and its importance, I will never know, because that's only speaking, Nicolette, on a mechanical level.
Right.
When I'm grip something, but when you see it over and over in practice, you realize that this repetitive gripping without proper training
Mm-hmm.
is creating all these imbalances from the fingers, the thumbs, the hands, the wrists, the carpal tunnels,
That
the forearms, and the elbow. It's all one big kind of kinetic chain of grip. And we have to look at our grip if we're ever going to straighten out these health and fitness problems.
right. So what would you suggest if somebody's just starting out golfing, like myself? I mean, I haven't I did once or twice, but I'd like to get into golf. So like say it's for me. What should I know first?
Okay. Yeah, to get into golf, what I would say first of all is, oh boy, there's several ideas I have on this. The first thing I would say, Nicolette, is take some beginner lessons. There's lots of golf courses, driving ranges that will offer beginner lessons.
Right.
And I think it's a good idea to just get a feel before you start to put some time into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you put time into it, if you have a habit that's not so good,
You're
you're gonna
gonna,
get better at a not so good
yeah,
habit,
yeah, you're gonna
right?
sustain that not so good movement or habits, or yeah.
Exactly. And there's lots of guessing when you start to hit a golf ball. And technically, the one thing I can tell people is to get in the mindset. I'm a mindset guy, is you get in the mindset that you're making a swing towards a target. And the reason I tell you that, Nicolette, if you ever do get into golf, is remember that you're making a swing towards a target. That's your goal. You're not trying to hit a ball. And that might
Yeah.
sound, because often when people
That's
try to hit a ball,
exactly.
their target is there's the ball,
I
there's
need
the
to hit it.
ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not chopping wood. You're
Oh shit.
you know,
Guilty.
if you're chopping wood, it's a good idea to look at the wood and look at the ground and go chop that wood and make a
Mm.
swing towards that wood. But I would always advise the beginners out there, or maybe even the people that play a lot of golf that are listening, um, I would advise them to make a swing towards the target, and then you think about developing your swing towards that target, not at the ball. The
So
ball's in the way, but as you get lessons, that'll make more sense to you, and that'll make it better to realize the goal that you're trying to accomplish, which is a nice full swing towards a target.
so you're saying that we should look at the target, but knowing full well that we will hit the ball no matter what.
Yes, the ball will definitely get in the way, and you will have to obviously look at the ball.
Right.
You look at the ball, but your goal is to swing towards the target. It's a bit of a tricky thing to think
Yeah.
about right off the
Yeah.
bat,
You need
but
to.
it will at the very start of pursuing this, it'll make it a lot easier to realize that that your swing is what you're working on, not striking that ball. And a lot of people will end up messing up their swing because they're
So
trying to strike
fixated
that
on the
ball.
ball, right? Ah.
Yes. Yeah.
So
You'll see when you get going what I mean. Yeah.
so if let's because I'm a left-handed. So do I need a different I need a different club, right?
If you'll know pretty naturally what feels comfortable. It's funny because I have my three kids are starting to get into golf, and the normal thing is to be a right-hander. Most people in general, the percentage is you're going to be a right-hander. In my family, myself and my oldest son are right-handers.
Okay.
My wife and my middle son and my daughter are all left-handers. So it's pretty rare, but they came about it naturally. So if you're left-handed or right-handed, you just get up to you'll get a pretty good feel naturally for which way. I would try both ways. Generally speaking, most people are going to be rights, but it's not that way in my family. So
So
um,
your suggestion, just try and go for it, make mistakes, and then get
yeah,
better at
yeah,
it.
and just to do for picking golf clubs, I would just try what comes natural. Try a left-handed golf club, try a right-handed golf club. The balance of our brain, just like how we clap and how we
Right, right,
take our
yeah,
first steps.
yeah,
Your body is naturally left and right, and then when you get in, there's lots about getting to that, the way your brain is actually even wired. But one will feel more natural, and golf's a lot about trying to incorporate uh, some slightly unnatural things like how you grip
hmm,
and how you set up a little bit, and then trying to make that as natural as possible.
yeah. Because I noticed when I tried swinging that before, and it's like
Yeah,
it doesn't seem natural for my body to like, and then you gotta tilt to a certain angle for the
yeah.
swing. So yeah, maybe.
You just try what's natural to you. It's like I know when I go skiing, I
Hmm.
turn one way very well. I feel like I could be a professional skier. I'm kidding. I couldn't be.
Maybe you
I'm
should try
pretty
it.
mediocre. But I turn one way very well, and I turn the other way very poorly. So
Mm,
with golf, that doesn't hurt you that much. With skiing, it probably does, but with golf, you'll have one way that your mind and your muscles naturally move a little bit easier. Most people will.
right. All right. That's a very good message to our listeners. So, okay, next question, Dr. Terry. When did you realize that something was wrong with the way we traditionally exercise our hands? You gave a example here, squeeze only. What do you mean, like that?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I think it was actually an interesting time in my life, and it was one that I played golf in college.
Mm,
We had a really good golf team, and then but we would travel lots. So one of my professors, Dr. Prococo, I remember
Coco.
him like it was yesterday, and he gave me. So I was going on a trip. We did this golf trip where it was like we do this. We traveled to. It was about a week. I think we were going to be away from school, and we go through some of the southern states in the U.S. And and told him that I was going to be away, and he gave me a project while I was away. And the project was to compare lateral epicondylitis, which would be like tennis elbow.
Right,
It's where you get swelling at the outside of your elbow.
right.
And he wanted me to compare and contrast that with medial epicondylitis,
Mm,
which is at the inner side of your elbow, which is generally called golfer's elbow. The
right,
medial, if I look at the middle,
right.
more towards my rib cage of my elbow,
Yeah,
that's the medial, and the outside would be lateral epicondylitis,
right.
which is generally lateral is tennis, and medial is generally called golfer's elbow. They're not really all that accurate, but that's the names we put on them. So when I did that, it was really interesting because I was a pretty intense student, and we were on the road, and I had some books so I could look this up, and I pretty much regurgitated what I saw in the books. And they always talked about only the wrist extensor muscles. I don't want to get super into the muscles, but some of your listeners might
Yeah,
kind of find this interesting.
yeah.
But tennis elbow always talks about the wrist extensor muscles.
Right.
So the muscles that take your wrist and take it backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And, and they talked about something with those muscles which would get inflamed. That's what they would call lateral epicondylitis or tennis elbow. And they said the wrist muscles that flex the wrist forward
Mm-hmm.
would become inflamed in a medial epicondylitis or the golfer's elbow.
Right.
And because I was just going through, I'm fresh in school. I've went through anatomy. I said, well, that's weird because at the outside of the elbow, the finger extensor muscles also originate there. So the
Yeah,
muscles that extend the
it's
fingers,
all connected. Yeah,
yeah, it's all connected. And the finger flexor muscles attach at the medial side.
that's true.
Now, in my report, Nicolette, I did not say that. I said I'm going to do what they tell me to do, and I'm going to stay inside the box here, and I'm going to give. And I gave the report, and it was a good report, and everything was fine and dandy back then. But when you get into the reality of teaching patients and treating patients, that little, and again, that's where I'm going back to the
Yeah,
I'm worthless
exactly.
thing. Well, it's such a tongue-in-cheek name because it's actually that you're built exactly the opposite. You're built so miraculously. If we just studied it, and the hands really showed me this. So when I was treating any kind of elbow injury, I would always look at what are you doing with your grip, not just with your wrist extensors and your wrist flexors. I was saying, what do you do with all your finger muscles? Because I knew there was 9 muscles that close the hand, 9 muscles open the hand, and then there was those 9 wrist and elbow and forearm muscles that control the grip.
Right.
So I looked at all 27, and we had really good results. So that was when I was in practice, and I realized grip is really done wrong. So if you think about it, I know it's a long explanation, but that report that I had to do started me off to realize, and wait a minute, we're staying in a box with this explanation of the elbows.
Right.
And then I'm going, what else are we looking at poorly? So when we looked at grip, I saw that we don't have a clue what we're doing with grip because we're having all these elbow problems. And when I first started in practice, I would only work with the elbow itself. I wouldn't work with retraining the grip. So
Mm-hmm.
I would do whatever I could to, ice it and rest it. And we would do
Right.
some,
Basically,
and we were
it's
getting,
disconnected.
yeah, but the elbow problem would always come back.
Right.
And I
Exactly.
wasn't having good results
Yeah.
until I started doing elbow work with grip work.
Together.
And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden it was like, okay, that thing I thought back in college, it was right. And I found that. And for some reason, I think we follow these dogmas and we follow
Mm,
these thoughts that here's how you do this
yes.
and this is that. And we must know everything about the area because it's, 2010 or whatever year it is,
Oh God, that
right?
is so true.
But of course we don't,
Yeah.
and on, in general, and we've had our product out for a long time. We have it around the world. It's done well because it is a sensible it's the proper way to approach grip. But most people still think of the old dogma. It's like, well, I got to take a spring-loaded gripper and
And
grip
just,
that.
yeah,
And if you look at it, and if I tell you, Nicolette, that you have 9 muscles that close the hand, 9 muscles that open the hand, and 9 muscles that control the position of your wrist and forearm in grip.
mm-hmm.
If I just tell you that information, there's no way you're ever going to take something and squeeze it again. So now we train the 9 muscles that close the hand, the 9 muscles that open and spread the hand, and the 9 muscles that move the wrist through its full range of motion. We do that in one exercise. In the old days, we did that in 7 exercises. And Nicolette, if you were a patient of mine, I would drive you crazy. You'd have all this stuff lying around. You'd forget about what the exercise. It was very difficult. Um, but when I got on tour, I knew I had to come up with something. And 3 o'clock in the morning, I was like, wait a minute, if I take a ball, you know, take out its guts and put a cord through it, I should be able to accomplish all
All,
this grip training
yeah,
in one exercise. And then I know my golfer athletes will actually have the time to do it,
right.
and they
It's
won't have to understand all the stuff I've told you today. Like, you don't need to understand all the
it's
gibberish
common,
about the muscle.
yeah, it's common sense and just maybe, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes of this. You can even do this while you're on your phone, or I can imagine because I visited
Exactly.
your Instagram and I was like, oh, that's the exercise. That's interesting.
Yeah. And yeah, I do believe nowadays, even if you do kind of, as you asked, like, how did you kind of come across this? Even when you do come across it, you really don't have the solution yet, because in our lifestyles, and back then, mostly all I worked with was athletes,
Hmm.
and they have other parts of their body to train that they actually perceive as much more important.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
so it's a really good challenge. And then when you just have to make things convenient, you have to make them mechanically sensible,
Hmm.
because the body is so unbelievably well designed. And then you just have to work with the body. But for our active daily lifestyles, you have to make it convenient. And that's the last thing to get over, was taking all of these 7 exercises that people wouldn't remember. They'd really struggle with. It was hard back in those days. But then when you put it into one exercise that you just tell them, here, do this,
Hmm.
and they do it, and they've trained their all 27 muscles of grip. They don't have to understand what the muscles are unless they want
And
to, but
yeah.
most people don't want to.
Well, okay. So I guess I'm really appreciative of that you coming onto this show right now, because I have come to realize that, like you said, our body has been incredibly designed and it's God given, and
Yep.
every single muscle is actually there for a reason. And if only we'd appreciate and really see how do we maximize the potential of each muscle. So thank you, Dr.
Nicolette, you've
Terry.
summed up, but right there, and seriously, you've summed up really my thoughts about the thing that I enjoy the most about these hand muscles, about strengthening grip. Of course, when I started with it, I just wanted to help the athletes, and I just wanted to do this. And now we work with, athletes and musicians and workplace. But the biggest thing, and even gamers and people that work with their computers, but the biggest thing is what you summed up there, is I'm really awake or turned on to the idea that we have to just realize these, like, the design of our body is unbelievable. And then even if you take it to another level, Nicolette, we each built this.
Yeah.
Okay, so we built, like, we were two cells, then we were one cell, and then we were many
Exactly.
cells, and then
Yes,
we were this layered thing, and then we built this thing. You built you, and I built me.
that's
And
true.
so that's a God-given thing. We're connected to this knowledge. And if we ever stopped and took a breath in, and again, I'll go back to the I'm worthless. I looked at that, I said, that
Thank
is
you.
fantastic.
Thank you so
Because,
much.
but many people, Nicolette, we walk away from a situation. I see it with patients all the time. I definitely see it with golfers all the time because it's so competitive.
Hmm.
And, eventually they go, oh, I'm worthless. I'm not good enough. I'm
Yeah.
like, wait a minute. You might, like, I wasn't good enough at golf, and I didn't get to play for a living like I was hoping to, but I never ever saw myself as worthless because I've started to understand this study of life brought me to the idea that, like, I'm here for a reason, and I'm going to figure out, follow my passions, pursue them, be really expertise at what I know, and then help other people. And that formula of life, it's like if everybody could just go and say, man, I'm put here for a reason. I'm going to follow those passions, follow those little whispers, eventually get to the point and be really good, like chew all the
Yeah,
chicken off the bone and
exactly.
really get to be an expert, and then help other people. If we all did that, how good would this world be?
Yeah. That's my heart's wish. If only they could realize their own potential. Because everybody
Yes,
has it.
absolutely.
You could be
Yeah,
you if you love, like for example, I always think of it as if you like plumbing, just be the
yeah,
best plumber in your own accord, your own, be the best, be the champion of it. So
yeah.
yeah.
Hey, Nicolette, I want to speak to that too, because I think you would really, I don't speak about this to all that because I do a lot of health and fitness talks and podcasts,
Right.
but your particular podcast interests me because I think that is something that every single person should really look at. Like, is whatever you do, because
Hmm.
there's many skills that I believe we're all qualified to do. Like, it's not just like I was born to be a professional golfer, and therefore, if I
Therefore,
do that
yeah,
and I don't make it, I'm
I'm
worthless,
worthless.
right?
Yes, yes.
Well, it's that's ridiculous because you try to be the best you can, but like me, I stumbled on some stuff that I'm really helping a lot of people with, and that I think is the great formula of life, is that you there comes a point where you get bored just caring about yourself, right? So I'm going to do this,
You hit
and I'm going to do that,
that.
and I'm going to do,
That was home run,
and that
Dr.
second
Terry.
part.
Yes,
So Nicolette,
yes.
think about this. If I look at my hands, right,
Uh-huh.
and all the time that I close them, it's like a motion of taking in.
Yes.
So if I take in all my life and I just take in, and I'm gonna be a good golfer, and I'm gonna get lots of money, and I'm gonna have these great buffets, and I'm gonna travel, and everybody's gonna look at me, that gets boring after a while. Like, once
Mm-hmm.
you get there, and you hear this from, like, people that have got to the top of their professions or their acting or whatever. Once you get there, until you follow through and be of service to others, and in the giving part, like the opening and giving part, there's an imbalance in life, and it's just shown in the metaphor of the hands. I see people
Yeah,
closing,
that is
closing,
so true.
closing, like
That is
taking
so
in,
true.
like grasping, and they end up being so imbalanced that they come and see me. But
Yeah.
but you gave the life scenario right there, as if you're going to be a plumber. Learn it for yourself so that you're great, but prepare to be so good at it that you give such a great service to others. They pay you for it, and you feel good about what you're doing in your life. That's what it's all about.
Wow, Dr. Terry. That was a good one. Oh gosh. Okay. Right. I have a line of questions for you. So we're gonna
Yeah,
come
good.
back to the grip injuries. Right.
Yeah.
So what are the most common activities that result in repetitive grip injuries?
Oh, good question.
Hmm.
The most common things that we see. So there's a few things that well, I'm going to pick on a profession that I pick on a lot, but I care about it a lot because we're around it,
Yeah.
and especially in the last 4 or 5 years. Um, anything, well, I'll pick on the profession in a second. Anything where we're repetitive gripping. Okay, so if I'm grasping something And it's, if I open my hand to its kind of what I would say normal size, like if I grabbed something like a baseball, like a softball, I don't know, like around the world, there's a bigger ball for a softball than there is for a smaller hard baseball. But if I grab something that's my hand size, that's the least stress. If I grab a basketball,
Yeah.
which is
You're
huge,
gonna be
there's more
stretching.
stress on my
Yeah.
there's more stress in my hand opening muscles.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But if I am to grab a paintbrush, if I'm an artist and I'm grabbing a tiny little paintbrush, well, that puts a lot of stress on
On
my
fingers.
fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the carpal tunnel's really shut down right there,
Right.
and my elbows really have to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things is the size of whatever you have to grip. A golf club's a certain size. So the second thing is how much strength there is involved to do it. How much output of your muscles. Do you have to hold really strong or do you have to hold really light? Golf is actually one, for example, where you'd like to hold it actually fairly light if your muscles are strong enough.
Right.
But we'll move on to the next one. Is there any strike force? So I have a hockey player, a golfer, a tennis, a tennis, a butcher,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's a strike force there where they're cutting and putting a force. So, and then how much rest do you get? Is there rest in between? Is there recovery? So let's take, for example, I'm going to take the dental hygienist, and I know I love the profession. But it's a really physically difficult profession. The other thing with the dental profession is it changes your mechanics when you're palm down.
Right.
So think about the dental tool is a smaller tool. They have to hold that. So they have to grip it. There's some grip involved. There's some force involved.
Right.
Their hand is palm down. And it's a little bit of a study of its own, but it stresses the extensor muscles of your fingers and wrist. And plus there's a little vibration in the tools. Often there used to be, at least. They're better now.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to work long periods of time with it like that. Okay. So they kind of check a lot of the boxes that are tough. Now, there's no strike force,
Yeah. It's
but
like
somebody
it's like the
yeah,
energy plateaus, like the moment it starts,
yeah,
and then it's
yeah,
like that.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And they're consistent, but there's no strike force. Whereas golf, hockey, tennis is another good one where you're contracting
Right.
to hold the racket. So now we know the elbow is tight on both sides
Mm-hmm.
because the muscles that open the hand attach at the outside of the elbow. The muscles that close the hand attach at the inside of the elbow. And plus you're holding the racket and there's a strike force, or you're holding the golf club or you're holding the hockey stick and there's a strike force. That puts a lot onto your wrist, forearm, and elbow as you contract and then try to strike against that. So there's many things and it's a variable. So what I say a lot, Nicolette, to explain this to people, because a lot of times so that there's good news and there's bad news. The bad news is for a practitioner, you have to figure the summation of those 27 muscles to see why they're coming up with the injury they're coming up with, if you're really detailed.
Yeah.
Okay. The good news over on the patient side is it doesn't matter, or the athlete side, or the musician, or like the dental hygienist. It doesn't matter, because on the training side, you're just gonna, like with
Train the whole thing.
our Handmaster Plus, you just close against a ball, open against a cord, and then you do a figure 8 exercise, and you'll train all 27 muscles. You'll get strength and length in the muscles, and you'll get balance, and you'll get blood flow and circulation. For the practitioner, it's hard to figure out why these injuries are coming, but you should pay attention to that. But when they get to the solution side, we've made it pretty darn easy. You close open and you just, it's simple. So, and it's the same exercise no matter whether you're a dental hygienist or a golfer or a
somebody who has a 9 to 5, just
or
computer.
if you're on a computer.
Yeah.
Same training and the same base. We have 2 exercises. You close the ball, you open and spread the cord, you close the ball, open and spread the cord. That's for like fingers and thumbs and hands and carpal tunnel. You just close, open. Nicolette, if you can't remember to close your hand and open your hand,
it's like
we've
breathing.
done all we can. Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. It's like,
but then when anybody in grip, like the workplace and the athletes, then we close, open, and then we do a figure eight at the wrist with your hand open, and you wouldn't believe how many muscles you wake up. And even doing it, Nicole, as I see you doing that, you just, even your listeners, your audience can just close their hand, squeeze it closed, open and spread, and then keep your hand open and spread and do a figure eight at the wrist. And it won't take long. So do a couple figure eights, then close again, open and spread again, figure eight at the wrist, wide as you can,
Wow.
close, open and spread. It won't take you long without resistance.
Yeah.
And you'll start to feel your forearm go
Oh
like,
yeah.
whoa.
I'm feeling it here.
Yeah. And it's just proof. It's just a little bit more proof that, wow, that's no resistance at all. Just making those muscles without resistance. And most people, almost all people, and I mean even people that are super strong, will feel that. And then when they put resistance on using Handmaster Plus, then they'll start to train that really, really well. And then they'll
Stronger
start to see
grip and then
strength and balance at all of those areas and structures. So fingers and thumb and hand and wrist and carpal tunnel and forearm and elbow. That simple exercise, you do it a couple minutes a day, you go off to the races, and you're going to be super healthy, and you're going to get the benefit of better blood flow and lymph drainage, which is another thing.
yeah,
If you ever
I
want to
felt
talk,
it
we could talk about lots of things.
yes, how this is gonna benefit like the like you said, lymphatic drainage system, right? Like that's a whole thing on its own. Probably
Very important.
I need to invite you for another episode for that.
Anytime, because I would come on this, Nicolette, anytime because of because your brand is I think extremely good. Because people have to realize, I think, and I believe it's because of poor health leadership. Health and fitness leadership has been, in my opinion, extremely poor. We don't look to see what's causing problems. We call this thing carpal tunnel syndrome, is one thing that people ask us about all the time. And I would often say to people, they say, well, can you guys do something for carpal tunnel syndrome? And I say, well, the first question you'd have to ask is, what is the carpal tunnel? Nobody knows. Like, no layperson knows what a carpal tunnel is. And even when you get to the experts of health and fitness, you ask them about a carpal tunnel, they don't know a whole bunch about it. What I would say now is, so with the carpal tunnel, we talked about there's 9 muscles that close the hand, right? 5 of those muscles actually attach at the top of the carpal tunnel. So every time we grip something, that carpal tunnel is slowly being collapsed.
Right.
Now, when we train the muscles that open and spread the hand, right? When we train the muscles that open and spread the hand, that carpal tunnel gets supported nice and wide, right? But if we just take something all day and grip it, it's like the person that has bad posture, and you see that they've got bad posture, and you wouldn't ever tell them to slouch more.
Yeah.
Right? You say, you've got bad posture. I think what would solve that is to slouch more. Well, that doesn't make sense.
Yes.
But yet, with our hands, and especially with that carpal tunnel, people are gripping all day, like I'll say the artist, or the lady that sews, but it could be like tradespeople get carpal tunnel a lot because they're gripping a lot. Okay. But then they're gripping a lot, and then somebody says, well, to train your grip, here's a spring-loaded or a coiled squeeze-only gripper, or a racquetball.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't make any sense, because you're making it close more,
right.
and it's
right.
you're strengthening an imbalance there if you do that.
Yeah.
So this is what we've done with health and fitness leadership, and I'm focused on the hand muscles and the grip and what that does to the elbow and the carpal tunnel and etc. But I think we do that for the whole body. We don't try to understand this miraculous of our body. We just tell them, hey, I'm worthless. But take this pill, or take this surgery, or take this, that. And then
you're gonna
and we're the ones that are worthy, and we'll figure you out. Rather than us saying, hey, and like, I'm happy to always speak on this, because I'm happy to speak to health and fitness professionals, but I'm just as happy to speak to the layperson that might go,
Oh,
wow, that's
wait a minute.
me.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I could do this myself.
exactly.
And often they're dealing with less dogma than the doctors,
Yeah, then
health
those in the
professionals are.
system.
Yeah. And then
Yep,
they'll tell me, like, before, like I say, when I used to go to trade shows,
right.
I would explain this all to people,
Mm-hmm,
to the
mm-hmm.
professionals. It could be health and fitness professionals.
Yeah,
They would nod as if they knew it already. And I would start to say, I don't think this person, this guy or girl, I don't think they actually know what I'm talking about. Now I start to talk, I start to have them talk first
yeah.
so that they can admit they don't know anything and start to get the dogma out of their head and actually learn this area and actually respect that these bodies are miracles, not
Divine.
worthless.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then completely divine knowledge that built this. And if we ever just took a second to peek into it, we would figure these things out that I've figured out about the grip. And
exactly.
then we could take care of our own health every single day and not have somebody tell us that
What to do, what to take. You should take
this is
this.
too complicated
Yeah.
for you. It's too complicated. I'll tell you how to do it. I'll make money off you.
Yeah,
And who cares what comes out of
exactly,
that?
exactly.
It's
Rely on
ridiculous what
me.
we're doing to
We're
people.
giving
Yeah.
power, basically.
Yep. Yeah, we are.
Okay, Dr. Terry. So why do women develop carpal tunnel syndrome at a ratio of 3 to 1 compared to men? Like why?
Yeah. Another good question. We talk a lot about it. And it's just the structure. It's just, men and women are built differently.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the women have a different shaped pelvis because
Right.
we're born again. This divine intelligence tells
They
the
were to
females
carry
that
a
we're gonna we're
child.
gonna
Yeah,
we're gonna prepare you for having a child. If you have a child,
creation.
you're gonna be prepared to do it.
Yes,
Whereas the men doesn't need to.
it's
So
true.
the structures are just different for whatever reason. Again, I don't know the divine reason for that, but the structures are just more narrow in the females. A lot of times too is that again, I
Could
don't
it
want to
could
classify.
it be, Dr. Terry, that because men are their upper body is like the stronger part, the
Yeah,
strongest part, and then
yep,
the women, I've heard this somewhere. I went to a yoga class before, and they said the instructor was saying like, do you know why we have stronger legs? Because we're supposed to carry a child, and men they have stronger upper body, and that's why when the two combine, that's why the men is the upper, the women is the lower part. So and therefore, because this is the upper part, so if we don't take good care of it, of course women, it's more prone to injury. I mean, this is me
yep.
being logical.
I don't know if I've ever heard it. Like it's funny, Nicola, because like every day that I'm talking about this, I always think, man, I'm starting to know a lot about this area. But I I continue to learn from others too. But what I would say about that, I think there's some pretty good logic to that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's logic to that, but I know for sure that there's a reason by nature why this happens.
Yeah,
Again, we're all guessing, right? But
yeah,
there's a truth somewhere there that we all should try to continue to discuss and come to an understanding about. It's important. Um, what I would say that we would definitely agree on is that upper body we're built differently.
yeah.
Men are definitely built differently, and it's probably to go, I think by nature it's us that are supposed to go out and kill the water buffalo so we can have food and all this stuff and go build the structures that we're all meant to live in community in. That's my guess. I could be wrong, but in general what we will end up seeing is that um the structure itself is more narrow for the women. It's more narrow. And a lot of times as well, this is my own theory, could be right or wrong, but that's why we discuss things. That's
That's
why we should
right.
always be
That's right.
to each other,
That's why we
right?
that's why we get on
We
on
should
shows
never
like
be,
this.
yeah, we should never be silenced with an opinion. I'm not afraid of being wrong, but if somebody says, well, that makes sense or it doesn't because of this, then I'm
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
but women historically, and who knows if it is by nature, I don't want to classify anybody as a certain way, but
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times the women do the more intricate work.
Work, yeah.
The men are grabbing, we got bigger. That's the other thing about um, certain things that lead to what's harder in your grip and what causes more injuries. The smaller the item, it's often more difficult. So the women are traditionally more active as well, with smaller items, and definitely when there's a pregnancy involved.
Mm-hmm.
Now during the pregnancy, the peripheral blood flow slows down more
Right.
because there's a baby growing inside. Like the most important thing that any human could do is grow a child. So now you're doing that, but the peripheral blood flow is not going to be that great. Plus, once the baby's born, now think about the hands, and you're always cupping the baby
Right.
and to hold it and doing something with one hand. And now it gets to be the wrist is always in. I'll show this to you.
Yeah.
The wrist is always in flexion. The fingers are always doing something.
Yeah.
That's very difficult at the carpal tunnel
Yes.
because the wrist flexor, so the finger flexor muscles,
Mm-hmm.
there's 8 tendons that go through that small little carpal tunnel, which is about the size of your thumb in general. And so there's 8 finger flexor muscles and 1 thumb flexor muscle
Right.
tendons that go through that.
Mm-hmm.
But if in that band on the top, which is the carpal tunnel, the transverse carpal ligament on top, it's a band that goes basically attaches and it makes a tunnel with the wrist bones. So that's the top of the tunnel. Whenever I grasp something with my fingers and go into wrist flexion, those tendons are right against that band, and like there's all kinds of things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
So if I'm definitely going on the after the cupping a baby. So if you're cupping a baby and doing things, with your fingers, and you're also shutting down that carpal tunnel that's already a little bit more narrowed in
In
females in
female
general.
design, yeah.
Yeah, so and then you're putting more wrist flexion and small finger flexion through small items on a
Right.
regular basis, and that's what I think it has to do with. Um, but it's what you so sorry, I meant to get back to this, Nicolette, because what you said about the upper body strength, that is definitely true. If I am going to grip things, I have to work. The weaker you are, forget men to women, but in
Yeah.
general, the upper body strength is different.
Mm-hmm.
But even within men and even within women,
Mm-hmm.
the stronger you are,
The better your
the
grip will.
less the less you actually have to work
Yeah,
to do it.
that's
So if
true. That's
females
true.
not strong, you have to work a lot. So your fingers have to work
You
a
have to
lot. Your
compensate
finger,
for that.
yep, your
Yeah.
whole kinetic chain has to work harder,
Yeah.
and that puts you in a more vulnerable position. I'll say one more thing about that is that you asked about female, like if a female wants to start golf, but if
Mm-hmm.
a male wants to start golf, we've done historically a lot of work with some of this teaching female golfers to get their hand strength stronger through that whole range of motion, because the stronger your grip, the stronger your actual grip strength is, the stronger and more balanced, the easier you can hold on to the golf club. You want a lighter grip. But if you're not that strong to begin with, and you try to use a light grip, the golf club's going to fall out of your hand.
Mm,
You're a stronger person and you can just relax your grip, you're still going to have control of the club,
right.
and it's going to swing a lot easier. So grip strength is very, very important. And with the females, by nature, comparatively, the grip strength is less, and with the narrower carpal tunnel,
Mm-hmm.
that's the 3-to-1 ratio. You see it all the time.
Right. Okay. So how do we strengthen? I know we talk a lot about this just now,
Mhm.
sporadically. So how do we strengthen the 18 hand muscles properly?
And again, let's go back to the divine intelligence of the body. Look at how the body's designed these hands. Like this is the only area where there's 27 muscles at work.
Oh,
So yeah,
really?
the 18 muscles when we talk about it is the 9 muscles that close the hand,
Right.
9
The
muscles
nine
that
that
open the hand.
opens. Okay.
Yep. Whenever we grip something, there's a combination of those 18 muscles that are gripping it. If I kept my wrist in one position, that's 18 muscles. I grab something, depending on what I'm grabbing, what the size is, all of those 18 muscles are possibly contracting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we just have to train them all. We have to understand where like the structure of each of the muscles, and then we train them. So what we do is we just have you with Handmaster Plus, we try to make it easy. But again, without resistance, I can show your audience. You just close your hand hard, open and spread it hard. Close it hard, open and spread it hard. That is a full hand exercise. But if you're going to take something and just squeeze it in your profession or in your sport or in your music, if you're just going to squeeze, 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 that is not hand exercise. That's hand squeezing. That's all that is, right?
Right.
But when you understand the anatomy of the body and how this body's been designed, you just have to look at it, respect it, and then train it like it, train all the muscles that are there. So with our Handmaster Plus, it gives resistance. There's a ball that resists the 9 muscles that close, and there's a cord that goes through that ball that hooks onto your thumb and all your fingers that you open and spread. And then you're going to train all those 9 muscles through their full range of motion. You'll get muscle strength, muscle length, muscle balance, and you'll stimulate blood flow and lymph drainage because you're taking that area through its full range of motion. Just like any area of the body, you want to take that muscle through its full natural range of motion, and the body will respond and say, hey, Nicolette's taking her hand through a full range of motion. Wow, she's using that every day. Yeah, I better prepare because your body adapts to your environment.
Yes.
So if you're
that department, the fingers department are doing their job pretty well. So I think we need to pick up the slack on the other parts of the body.
Exactly. And if you're training your muscles through their full range of motion on a regular basis, your body's going to say, wow, Nicolette's training her hands through full range of motion. We're going to open up blood flow. We're going to maximize lymph drainage, and we're going to take care of this area because you're actually using it. And your body adapts to your daily activities. You got to remember that. You can't sit in your butt all day and expect to be healthy.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so Dr. Terry, I'm just gonna a few more questions. So why strong hands mean a longer life and better health?
Well, okay, so when I first started studying the hands and the grip,
right?
It was the last thing I thought I'd ever come up with. So we would, do this thing, and people would have our product, and we would get feedback on a regular basis. This has been for 15 plus years. Somebody would send us something that said, my wrist feels better, or my carpal tunnel, or my elbow, or whatever. It's doing better, but I'm also sleeping better, or I feel like more clear. And I always thought to myself that that was just because, well, you've got one less pain in your life, so that's probably freeing up your mind. But then I came across studies, and there's about a half a dozen really large studies that show that your grip strength is directly correlated to your life longevity. And we came across a fellow, it was an osteopath in England that was doing work with lymph drainage.
Right.
Anyways, it's a long story how he got across his information. And then that's one of the things I realized is, wait a minute, because we had a study done in 2017. It was a thermography study that showed when you use our full range of motion exercise, like hands closed fully, open and spread fully. Not even the figure 8 part. Just closed, open, and spread.
Opening and closing.
Yeah. And we did a thermography. They did a thermography study compared to just if you take something and squeeze it. Okay. You take thermographies before and after. And it was like blood flow, which we knew already.
Yes.
Is just way more because you're training more muscles through their full range of motion. The body responds. The body's smart. It knows what to do. So in those things, we said, wow, look at the blood flow of ours. Hey, look at the blood flow. And it was years later that I realized, wait a minute, when you improve blood flow, you improve lymph drainage and venous drainage. And then all of a sudden I'm going, I think we're improving lymphatic drainage. And then that's when we realized you can't study all the anatomy every single day, but I realized your lymph ducts are basically at the base of your shoulders and neck, like between your shoulders and neck, and the lymph ducts drain all your lymph. That's the main drain, and it's kind of like your sewage system,
Right.
as well as, of course, like an immune system as well. But when we bring blood flow to the extremities, for sure we have to improve those lymph ducts. And lymph ducts drain your brain, your whole body, your brain, your arms, your legs, your torso, everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the secrets. I think that's one of the things in life is that we have to keep moving.
Yeah.
And moving the extremities, I do think training the extremities is not only good for your, all those structures we talked about and your performance and preventing injury. I do believe now it's a big thing for your general wellness. And those studies, there was a study published focusing on this in the Washington Post in like January. And if somebody wants to look up grip strength and life longevity, you'll find a whole bunch of references, and there's at least 5 huge studies on it. And so, yeah, we're definitely encouraging people. Your hand health is more than just about your grip and your performance. It's life longevity stuff, and it's because you're improving the natural circulation of your body, which is, in this day and age where there's toxins in our food and our air and our soils and our everything, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But we got to keep our lymph drainage. We really got to keep our lymph system supported, and you know what? Keep the peripheral, the upper extremity exercise is gonna help that, and there's studies that show it directly.
I think the key is just to be open and to be aware, like when it's like you said, not get stuck in the dogma that okay,
Yeah.
we know that we need a okay. So people, they tend to go to the gym and then just work their muscles, or 6 packs and all those things. But they just, if they can take one step further, they could, it doesn't even have to be like a goal. It can be, it should be a lifestyle, like you said. It's a
Right.
well-being type of like I refuse to let myself or let my body be dictated by others, like okay, the need to look good because I want to look good in certain dresses or whatever. It's just because I've been given this vehicle, this vessel, and it's so extraordinary, and therefore find the way on how to maximize each of this. Yeah, and they can start with this podcast, with this episode. The hands.
I'm so glad you said that, and that's so perceptive, and that's the way I'm convinced that's the way our world is going.
Yeah.
What you said about it, because I've seen it over and over, and you probably have seen it over and over to get to this point. However, you've got to that talk of what you just said, because people will go to the gym because there's a lot more to it, and I would say it's like, again, I guess I'll go back to the golf, but it might not do what you said justice. But look at my golf swing, look at how well I do.
Yeah.
But when you get more detailed in the pursuit of golf, there is an awe that you have to get to, and there's an allowance of natural flow that you have to get to if you're ever going to perform at your best. And there's a lot of people that are out there, I'm using sports, but it could be anything, where it's just the ego that's driving them to do that. They'll hit a block at some point.
Yep.
What you said, would I ever say don't go to the gym? I would never say that.
Of course.
But your goal should be to
the intention,
become aware of this vessel.
Exactly.
Become aware of this vessel.
Yeah.
Become aware of your nature and serve that nature. Now, when you serve that nature and you're coming in, then you'll be sensitive of your blood flow, your lymph drainage, your muscle balance. You'll be sensitive of your vitality. Then you can use that vitality to be healthier, to serve other people longer. And when you're aware of that, your problems go away, and your service goes away. Your service goes up. Your motivation goes up. You're never bored.
Yes.
But if you go to that gym and go like,
oh,
look at my ripped pecs and look at my abs, the girls are gonna dig me, or the guys are gonna dig me.
Exactly.
That act has a
it's
best
not
before
sustainable.
date.
Yes. That's true. Best before date.
Yeah, the totality of life is the attraction of it. It really is. And if you can get there,
Mm-hmm.
like we're all designed to get there, or you're going to be frustrated,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If but those types of things, and again, what you said there to me, I wish our whole world could hear it, because that's the thing, is that you can't go to the gym to just take and look at how good you should be going there because you want to keep your vessel vital so that you can serve people as best as you were designed to.
Yeah.
And in the process, it'll look good.
Yeah.
When you're healthy,
Yeah.
it looks good,
Yeah.
but it's not the goal. That's
Exactly.
just in the process, that just happens to be what happens, which is
Remember,
okay.
if I were to pivot
That's
back to your swing, I mean, the ball, you're
yeah.
still gonna hit it, but the whole idea is,
Hey,
yeah,
thank. That's exactly true. If
yes,
your the golf ball is your abs or your whatever the girls are trying to attain, the shoulders or whatever, but the swing is life. That's
exactly. The
boy.
swing is like,
Somebody just help me out on some of my stuff.
I'm enjoying this very much.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask one question that I ask all my guests. It's gonna pivot into self-worth because that's the essence of the podcast. Anyway, so self-worth can be affected by relationships with others. How can individuals establish healthy boundaries and foster relationships that support their self-discovery journey? So it's not directly related to this, but somehow it's
No,
connected.
no. Yeah, actually, yeah, Nicolette, you're talking to a person that completely understands the question. I understand the question because I do. It doesn't matter if it's the hands. It doesn't matter if it's
Yeah.
golf. Like it is the totality is where you're going to really get into a rhythm in your life and really get into a flow. And it's like, so setting boundaries, it's a pretty interesting question. And I probably am going to give you a different answer than you
Please
normally
do.
get.
Yeah.
I think, I think that when you spend, if you spend some time really, once you get locked into the study of life, I don't know. Now you have to watch your time and your energy. So I'm not saying you just listen to what everybody says.
Yes. Yes.
You have
Yes.
to ground yourself, and I'll go back to the hand muscles. You have to ground yourself in finding truth
Ooh,
yourself.
that's a good one.
You
Yeah.
don't you don't sit there and go like, well, this person told me that, and what you said before. You don't give up your power to everybody. You are the power. The
Mm-hmm.
power's in this thing about I'm worthless.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us buy into that.
Yeah.
Right. So if you buy into that, you better darn well set boundaries, because everybody that you come into acquaintance with is going
Just
to
gonna
offend you
take,
some,
take,
or they're
take,
going
take,
to take
take. Yeah.
because you haven't taken enough yourself. If you say I'm worthless, so if you, okay, I'll go to the hand scenario, that metaphor about the hands.
Yeah.
If I take in the information, I've taken in lots of information. I'm not just saying I've taken in like I've got I've got this and that and this and that in my life. Look at
You
me.
look at,
No,
yeah.
I've taken in information about life because I just, for whatever reason, I'm drawn to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I take in that information. I take it in. I take it in. Now, because I'm grounded in truth, you'd have a hard time offending me. Because if somebody said to me, Terry, you're worthless, I wouldn't take that as any offense.
Yeah.
I would take it as
That's a
I
reflection
would
of
have
themselves.
empathy for them.
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
have empathy for them. I would say, boy, you got a lot to learn, and I could probably
Mm-hmm.
help you with it. You
Yeah.
could,
Come
if you
walk
care
with
about a
me.
business, yeah,
Exactly.
if you care about a business, there's endless business when you're in this business, because there's so many people walking around going, "You're a loser. You should kill yourself." And I
Yes.
know this is an extreme example,
Yeah.
but it is so common
It's
nowadays.
prevalent. Yeah.
You're a loser. You should kill yourself, or you should get out of here. Who wants you? And if you're not grounded in the truth, and the
Mm.
truth about everybody, not
Yes.
just you, Nicolette, because you've got a podcast, not just me because I've figured out hand exercise. Everybody has got the same things. Two cells came into one cell, they split, they built themselves. How do you beat your heart every night? How do you breathe every night when you're asleep? You've got a miracle going on inside you. It's divine
Yes.
intelligence.
Yes.
So everybody could learn that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when somebody tries to tell you you're worthless, it's not your problem, it's their
It's
problem.
their problem.
Because you know, right? So anyways, getting back to how do you set boundaries? I don't know that you need to set that much boundaries when you're grounded in truth. Be honest with you. I
Oh,
think
yes,
I
yes.
just think that everything that comes in front of you is a learning experience after that.
Mm.
You can say, yeah, I speak to somebody like you, Nicolette, we could talk all day and we could go,
Exactly.
but we could
Yeah.
talk all day and we move the conversation about life further because
Yeah.
that's a great thing. So I don't need to set a boundary with you, but I also would say somebody could come up to me and say, again, you're worthless. Look at your goofy ears or whatever. I don't know what they would say, but therefore you're worthless. They'd pick something up, or they say, hey, you tried to make the PGA Tour
Yeah.
and you didn't make it. What a loser you are, right? Okay, they're right. I didn't make the PGA Tour
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't good enough at that stage of my life for whatever reason, and it's hard.
Yeah.
The second thing is, I learned a lot from that pursuit and for not being in fear of trying
I
it.
mean,
And therefore, I was able to learn more and more and more about my passions, which really helped me out to learn things. But I could say to myself, um, isn't that interesting how a person would look at a life?
mm,
Uh, that's an example of I need to learn that our world still isn't anywhere near
yeah.
evolved enough to understand that they're miracles. And if they don't think, if they can't see it in me, they can't see it in themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a lot of my motivation nowadays is I'm even working on books. I'll be back here next year. I'll get a hold of you next year
Yes,
because
please do.
one of the
I will be contacting you.
well, it's a project I'm working on, and it'll be
Right.
exactly what you're talking about. So it's a project about getting people aware of the miraculousness inside, and certainly the
Beautiful.
hands are part of the explanation. But man, we built this whole body. Like, how did we put eyes there and ears
Yeah,
there? And if you look at the details, and it wasn't somebody else that built that,
exactly.
and it wasn't anybody else beating your heart right now and making your lungs move and making your hormones stay balanced all day. That's you
You.
doing it.
Yeah.
And if you think you're worthless, like you got to explain that to me.
Yeah,
How are you doing this trick?
exactly.
If you're worthless, it'd be impossible.
Oh my gosh. I
So,
I wish the world can hear this right now.
well,
They
keep
need
on doing
to.
what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. We have to though, Nicolette, because we've got all these things going where somebody in some position of authority says something completely ridiculous and
Yes.
people listen to it.
Yes.
And so we have to we have to launch the offensive on our side, like saying, wait a minute, it's wakey time.
Yes. Yes.
It's really wonderful, you know, and then keep on educating each other and hopefully
We
people
leave
get
this world
educated.
better than we found it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And we take we have each of us take our power back and not give
Exactly.
our authority to somebody else about our life once we understand how valuable it is.
Wow. Okay. What is your heart's greatest wish?
I think we just talked about it. I think I think my heart's it's a good question. My heart's greatest wish is that we see our value and we see the divine intelligence inside of our like that we are all a part of, and we're all a whole. So I've got three kids, two pets. The pets have it figured out
Oh
already, and the
yeah.
kid
My
you know
cat. He figured it out a
they've
long
got it
time
figured
ago.
out.
Yeah, yeah. Look at
Yeah,
him.
they don't care about what kind of car they drive. Anyways,
Exactly. I don't need to
yeah,
wear the branded
yeah,
clothes. Yeah, I don't need to be at
right,
some social status by this age and be liked
right.
by who. Yeah.
Yeah, and even that, I think all of that is fine.
Yeah.
But it's that golf
But
ball in the way, like you said. It's the
exactly.
golf ball in the way.
Exactly. That is
A
not
nice
the
car,
goal. Yeah. That is not. I mean,
yeah,
you pursuing it, fulfilling your purpose, but on the way you're gonna get all of that. It's it's just you can't miss it. But as long as your
right.
intention is right, the universe will.
That's what I
Yeah, universe will not allow
that's what I
for you to pass those things by. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's our
If you truly see the plan of this
yeah,
world, of this universe, of God, whatever, however, of source,
yeah,
however people look at that,
mm,
which is part of the confusion, it's part of what they try to confuse it with, I believe. But if you see the plan of developing your skills, your God-given skills that you're
yeah,
here to develop, if you develop them, you really care to develop them as a service to others, and that'll continue to have you work and work and work and figure out, be the best plumber you can be, as you said. You give that service to others, and we all do that, and we all form that type of a community. That's you said my wish. That
yes,
would be my wish, and I want my kids to find their lane
mm,
that they believe they were put here for. And I don't believe it's one thing. I don't believe it's like play on the PGA Tour. I believe
yeah,
it's follow your passions. I didn't play on the PGA Tour ever. I played on, good golf tournaments and good tours, but I learned I was right in front to use my interest in life
yeah,
and see these grip injuries. I could put two and two together and nobody else could.
yeah, yeah,
And now I've helped this lane in the world, and I can help people with that. And I love it. It excites me every day because I feel like I'm contributing.
yes,
I want my kids to do the same thing. I want Nicolette, you to do the same thing. I want everybody to see their value and pursue it and really do it well and provide good service to others. And that's where the whatever the bicycle comes, the car comes, whatever. Those are just part of the process. It shouldn't be your goal.
yeah.
Your goal should be of huge, huge service to others. And we can all do it.
Okay, Dr. Terry, if you could create a quote right now for you to leave the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
Does that have to be my quote, or could it be any other
It
quote?
could be any other quote. Yeah, as long as it's like
Man, oh, I
X,
wish I
X,
had time to
X.
think. I got about a trillion quotes in my
Well,
repertoire that I've
you can
looked.
mix them up and make it your own. Dash
Yeah,
Dr. Terry Zachary 2023.
I would say, I would say, I would say something as simple as be yourself, and
Oh, that's
the,
enough. That's
that's enough.
everything. Yeah.
But you know how loaded that comment is.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
know, like
be
how
yourself. Be
authenticity,
and but
exactly. Realizing your
what it what
true
it
power. We
yeah,
could
what
go
it
another.
means is you've got to do the work to define yourself and
Yes,
to understand, not to define yourself. You don't define yourself. Yourself is already defined on a
define.
higher level.
Yes,
So that's the yourself part. And then just be
just
it.
be.
Don't,
Mm-hmm.
then be that, and don't make any excuses to anybody. You just be it. And that little whispers inside you, it's there. But I would say focus more on the heart than the mind too. Let
Yes, yes,
something like
yes,
that.
yes, yes. Because
Your
we're
mind should
always
your
operating from here. But people don't
Yeah,
understand this one moves everything.
yeah. You ever we've heard of people brainwashed, haven't we? But we've
Oh,
never heard of anybody heart
heart
washed
wash.
before,
That is
right?
so
You
true.
can't
Yes,
you can't touch that. That's a
that's the
different
truth.
connection.
Exactly.
It's a whole different connection. Mind control,
Mm-hmm.
no
No
heart
heart
control,
control.
right? You can't do
Oh.
it. So, and I do one other thing I would say is, like, if we're in, like, and I know we can't talk about this forever, but I do. But so, sometimes when I talk about this, people think, well, you don't think the mind's important? I think the mind's hugely important, because
Of course.
the mind is what lets our attitude in, and lets our attitude. But the mind should say, what does the heart want?
Mm-hmm.
Like the mind, the mind is an amazing tool. It's
Yes.
actually, I think, the vital tool, and it's that extra tool that we've been given,
Right.
right? Is
Right.
that the choice?
Yes.
And the choice should be what's in your heart.
Yeah.
Where's that whisper? What am I listening to here? And then that's your path. But
Le-
the mind is heavily involved in that decision. But if the mind decides whatever
if the
that
mind is
TV
the
tells me I'm going to
chariot,
be,
now that we will have a big problem. That's when all the
yeah,
diseases come in, the
yeah,
manipulation,
yeah,
standing true in your power. That's it. Be yourself.
You're very wise, and that's
Oh,
exactly that's. But you know
Dr.
what? We have
Terry,
that. You
that
and
is
I
so
came
kind
up
of
with
you.
that. Be yourself,
Yeah.
and but that's not such a simple statement. So
Yeah.
you understand that, but that would say, you know what? I'm glad you asked me that question because that's what I think. That's a pretty easy statement, right?
Wow. This has been, I think, the most interesting, insightful episode that I've recorded so far, and I'm
Oh
so
well.
very thankful that we cross paths. Like, there's always a reason. Like, I didn't even
Oh,
I started this podcast like just in June, so I have never ever thought of coming across people like yourself. I've interviewed so many people, and there's so much good in this world, like amidst all
oh,
of
there
this.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
Nick, that's the thing. I was knowing your podcast a little bit and seeing it is that this is the momentum that I like to be a part of, and it there's more people that are definitely in our way of thought.
Yeah,
Well, it's just the way that we are. It's not like we did it. It's like it's
yeah,
in there, but there's more
exactly. It's
people
just
that are removing the layers
correct.
to get
They just
get
need
to
to
that truth. It's
peel
just
the
all about
layers
truth.
and yeah,
Yep.
unravel it. Again,
And
coming back.
even you talking to me about the hand muscles, like the hand muscles, most people would expect it's all I want to talk about is the hand muscles. But it's the design of those hand muscles that I like talking about. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah,
Like, it's so intricate that nobody wants to talk about it, but it's so intricate, and technically by nature, we built them.
yes,
So somewhere inside us, we know the design,
yes,
right? Because who else built that thing? Like, you know, so that should be a hint
yeah,
to the divine intelligence within us.
yes.
And therefore, could you ever call yourself, worthless? No, you
No.
couldn't.
Yeah.
The more you dive into it, if you look at worthless a lot, eventually your body's telling you that
Hello.
can't be
Yeah.
possible unless you're thinking only
Ain't
up
from
here.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't call yourself worthless from the heart. It's
It's
impossible.
impossible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Terry. You have been wonderful. I learned so much from you, and I would love to have you on the show again next time. Perhaps,
Uh,
perhaps I would. Which part of the world are you in right now?
I'm in Vancouver, in
Canada.
Canada.
Okay.
Where are
So if
you,
I'm
Nicolette?
in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Oh, you are fantastic.
Yes, yes. So I have made a friend in Canada. So perhaps if I do
Yeah,
come by, I will definitely.
you definitely have.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Terry. I will be posting
Well,
this in the next
yep.
few weeks, and I'll be tagging you. I'll be snipping some of the clips from our conversation out.
Good stuff. And I'll share them with our stuff as well. And then Nicolette, that was really enjoyable. Like I don't get, I enjoy most podcasts that I do, but this is it's getting into the place that I'm so interested in. And like I say, I'll maybe send you an email a little bit more about the book, and so you can like, what am I talking about? But it's coming. It's about halfway done, and I'm hoping to have it done in February, but that might be tight. But it's something that because of the things that you and I talk to, I want to talk more about it, and I want to have something where I can say, please read this, change your mind about what you think about yourself, because it's all there. It's not like it's not there. Like you don't have to go outside to find it. It's
Yeah,
there.
it's there.
But this thing has kind of kept some of us from it.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously some of us are really like resonating with our higher energies, and that's making movements like this. So keep it up. I really enjoyed being on your show.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Terry. You're doing great work.
Well, thank you. And let's talk soon. And
Yeah.
hopefully I'll see you in 2024.
Yes, we'll do. Thank you, Dr. Terry.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Enjoyed it. Have a good day.
You too. Have a good day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bye-bye. Oh God.